Oh, happy day. What a great meeting. We are here to celebrate our future, our youth, our young people, and our partners that are making literacy and education available to everyone. Good afternoon, friends, Rotarians, guests, and those who are joining us today by Zoom. Welcome to the October 28th meeting of the Rotary Club of Louisville. I'm Jean West, owner of Faces West Productions and president of the club, a Paul Harris Fellow. To provide our invocation today is Dee Trennan, chair of the Hospitality Committee. Dee?
So let us pray. Dear God, we thank you for what we have. We thank you for our limitation as human, the limitation in health, the limitation in life, the limitation in knowledge and understanding, and for that, we recognize that we need your support. We also recognize that we need each other's, our brothers, our sisters' support through this life. Help us maximize what we have to create more values in others, especially ones in our small and big families and communities. Help us create an impactful work through each and everything that we do in each and every day of our life. Amen.
Thank you, Dee. And now to lead us in the pledge and four-way test, Ashley Brower, board member and chair of the Leadership Fellows Committee.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now the four-way test.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you, Ashley. You may be seated, Rotarians. We always love to welcome our guests. Rotarians, please take this time to introduce yourself first, then your guest, and guests, please stand to be recognized when your name is called.
Can you hear me? Tony Newberry, proud Rotarian and former president of Jefferson Community Technical College. We have a number of guests here today who fit into categories of partners with the Rotary Club of Louisville in various scholarship initiatives under the Rotary Club Scholarship. From JCPS, pleased to introduce Carmen Belfont, Equitable High School Academy coach. Reed Moore, Western High School Academy coach. Lisa Millsacks, JCPS coordinator, School Business Partnership, and Kim Morales, JCPS Academies of Rhode. From Jefferson Community and Technical College, Dr. Renee Wagner, Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Ronald Smith, Chief Student Affairs Officer, Chief Institutional Advancement Officer, and Dr. Drew Rutherford, Assistant Vice President for Academic Affairs. Welcome. And then from the Evolve502 universe, we have Marland Cole. Of course, we're going to hear from Marland soon. Brian Cole, Marland's husband, Christy Robinson, Mary Gwen Wheeler, former leader of 55,000 Degrees, which laid the groundwork for Evolve502, and John Guthrie. And then finally, Rowan Claypool from Teach, Kentucky. So welcome.
Rotarians, if we could have your attention, please. Thank you. Go ahead.
President Jean, my guest today is Logan Gaddy. He is Economic Development Manager for the Louisville Downtown Partnership and the owner of Florida Tea in Norton Commons. So y'all get out there next time you're in that neighborhood.
President Jean with us having an educational theme, really good control of the class there, by the way. Sean Walzak, soon to be 3 days and completely retired director of your Louisville, Missouri. I'm so happy, Dan Maloney, the new director of your Louisville Zoo. He had such a good time last year.
Thank you.
President Jean, Rotarians, and Chris Whalen, WSI Digital Win, Digital Marketing. It is my privilege and honor to welcome back a return visitor, Corey Miller, Executive Director of the Cabbage Patch Settlement House. And you all might recall that he came to the Cabbage Patch in 2020, following Tracy Holliday's retirement, and just a blessing to have him. He has been a Rotarian with 2 other chapters, and he's definitely interested now again. So please introduce yourself to Corey.
Hello, Jolene Taylor, Chair of the Speakers Committee. My guest today is Bill Womack. He is a longtime friend of mine, and he has 25 years experience in the distribution and logistics space, and is actually looking to maybe branch out and do some new things. So if you want to find out what he's looking to do next, make a way to him after the meeting and ask him what's up.
President Jean, Craig Mooney, co-chair of the Rotary Honor Scholars Program. I'd like to introduce my guest, Charisma Stegall, my co-worker at Bussey Construction, and she has also volunteered this year through the Rotary Honor Scholars Program.
Welcome to return anytime. And if you'd like to learn more about our club, there's a table over here that says, "What is Rotary?" There will be someone, Craig Sherman, here to answer your questions, because we would love to invite you all to join. Okay? Yeah, let's do that. All right, now, drum roll, boom, boom. Time for Asian culture class, okay? Louisiana has one of the longest bridges in the world. Which bridge is it? The Atchafalaya Basin Bridge, the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway, or the Huey P. Long Bridge? Who knows the answer? You win every time. Yes, it is. If you've ever been to New Orleans, it is 126,122 feet long. And it is the longest continuous bridge passing over water in the world. The waters of the famous Lake Pontchartrain. Now, you know, the lake isn't really a lake, it's more like a bay. That bridge makes it a lake. Now, it is my honor to welcome President-elect Walt Kuno, Paul Harris Fellow, and all-around miracle worker to give us an update on the Honor Scholar Program.
Thank you, President Jean. Jean said I'm president-elect of the club, and thanks to you and thanks to Rotary, I've enjoyed giving our students a hand across, and I've been greeted with many hands reaching back. The Rotary Honors Scholars Program has an astonishing track record since 2011. With the leadership of Henry Heiser Jr. during our 100th year, this became our signature program and still sits in that place for at least a little while longer. Rotary, you raised $1 million, which was matched by the Kentucky Community and Technical College System to provide $80,000 worth of scholarships each and every year for our scholars at Western and Iroquois high schools, 2 of the most challenged schools in the world. He is right there, so we're going to hear from him in just a minute. Not only did Rotary provide the promise of a college education, we also volunteered our time with 3,000 hours of mentoring support given by 1,350 mentors to 3,000 students with over 125 visits to these high schools. This year alone, we will have over 400 hours invested with 60 mentors to almost 400 students. This year is a transition year, and I need to introduce the next generation of leaders for this program. So I'm going to ask you guys to stand. Craig Mooney in the back, and we got Tommy Sturgeon back there too, and Linda Barker Moore down here somewhere. There's Linda. Let's go and listen to all the help that we have, because a project like this takes lots of folks, but they're bringing new energy, new ideas, and great compassion to the work of Rotary. Thank you all. Please let them know later if you'd like to join up with us. Here's audience participation time. I've done this before. I'm going to do it a little bit differently today. If you've mentored at Iroquois or Western High School, please wave your hand. If you've contributed to the scholarship fund, please wave your hand. If you've contributed to the Rotary Fund, keep waving, guys. Please wave your hand. If you contributed to our goodie bags last year, please wave your hand. If you wrote one of the 75 letters to our scholars, please raise your hand. If you want Walt to quit doing this, everybody raise your hand. This is a great project. You couldn't do it without each and every one of you. Even if you don't become a mentor, by being a Rotarian, you participate in this great program. We said there are many people and organizations that give scholarship money, and that's great. But there are far fewer that invest their time in the success of individual students. Rotary Honor Scholars Program provides hope, and this is what it looks like. Even during the pandemic, we supported our scholars. We filled goodie bags, gave t-shirts and face masks, and wrote letters of encouragement. A few managed to meet with the students outside and socially distanced. Let me tell you about a couple of our scholars. John, an Iroquois student, was talking with Tom Crimmins at our summer work session pre-pandemic year. John explained that he started his work at Summer Works at the Little Loom House. Many of you have been there, and you also know, and he was very proud, that the Happy Birthday song was actually written there. But he also discovered that this wasn't really a long-term solution for what he had in mind. So he went to work for MSD at Summer Works the following summer, got his supervisor to write him a letter of recommendation. And his senior year, he was talking with us, and I asked him what his plans were. He proudly, around his neck, showed his UPS badge where he was co-opted. And his plans were to start at UPS, work there a while, engage with our scholarship at Jefferson, and then move on to U of L. Unfortunately, John had a medical issue that contributed to him having to leave that program, but he asked Rotary for a deferment. And so with Jefferson and Rotary, we both agreed that that was in the best interest of the student and our program. What I want you to hear is that Rotary is in the business of saying, yes, you can, and what I call a no, you can't world. Our students are one step away from having a misfortune that can derail their entire life. Rotary steps in and helps manage that process with our time, with our talents, with our scholarships, with our efforts, with our networks for these young people. 2 years ago, we enhanced the high school experience of 5 Western early college scholars, Reese, Sienna, Eliza, Maya, and Maisha, by recruiting them to volunteer at another organization that we support, Educational Justice. Our scholars have a full plate. They have college-level courses, after-school jobs, and responsibilities at home. Now they are tutors to middle schoolers. We're seeing that our scholars embody service above self. They all enthusiastically agree that their work with educational justice is important. Their confidence exudes as they talk about how they are now looked up to by the younger students. The smiles that they share me are imprinted in my mind. And some of you may recall Reese. Reese, a Western early college graduate. He spoke to Rotary's leadership during the pandemic while carrying a full load at Indiana University Southeast under a Rotary scholarship there. Reese became a site manager for educational justice, earning some walking around money. Each of our scholars have his or her own story and are shining stars that will make Louisville a better place to live. Who knows, maybe some of these kids will become teachers, or better yet, a Rotarian. I could go on and on with stories of Jason, Lacotte, Brenda, and Karan. There are so many stories yet to be told. It's with this hope that Rotary Honor Scholars Program is able to change the trajectory of those that need it most. Ultimately, our program makes education better. We fill a need at both of these schools. Listen to this story carefully. Success like this is why we're investing even more in the early college program. Every year, about 5 students graduate from Western Early College Program with both their high school diploma and an associate's degree from Jefferson. 4 years ago, we had 16 scholars who finished with both degrees. They start college with junior standing and no student loan debt. This is game changing. This is why we're doubling down at Western Iroquois with more early college scholarships. It's called the Rotary Bridge Program, and we're starting it this spring in order to enable students that qualify to have access to early college at the Southwest campus of Jefferson. I could go on and on about all the things that we do. And I know there's stuff going on in the paper today and podcasts, but those podcasts in the paper tell stories about our students and our scholars that need to be told. And just know that your Rotary stands in the middle, helping young people make Louisville a better place. Thank you. One question is Henry, but I'm not on the right page. Henry is the best president, the best past president we've ever had. Henry started the scholarship. He's shaking his head and he said, okay, just come on up to Henry, and then I'll stop. But he's a Paul Harris Fellow. He's everything to everyone in Louisville.
Oh, and let's thank Walt again for his incredible leadership in this. I'm delighted to be part of this program. It's been very important to me, as you know, for many years, and it's really a milestone for Rotary in this community. And our distinguished speaker, Marland, has an important message, and one that's certainly dear to my heart. I know that many of you, both current and past Rotarians. Marland Cole has been leading Evolve502 since it was founded in 2018, which many of you know Evolve, as Walt was mentioned, from the Louisville Rotary Promise Scholarship, which is created in commemoration and celebration of Louisville Rotary's 100th anniversary in July 2012. I'd like to know who here today was a member of Rotary in 2012. Could you raise your hand? Good representation. So you've been with us all along from the very beginning of the genesis of this. Marland was the perfect person to take this helm at Evolve502. Her professional resume is extensive with leadership positions at Baptist Health, Simmons College of Kentucky, Hospice, and Jewish Hospital, and St. Mary's Health, where I first met. She holds a BA degree in communications from Louisville and an MBA from Bellamy. Marland knows just about everybody and is a sought-after nonprofit civic leader as well, with the directorships at Metro United Way, YMCA of Greater Louisville, the Lincoln Foundation, which she chairs, Leadership Louisville, and Maryhurst, to name a few. The list of donors she has received. List of honors, that she has received is equally impressive and extensive. Well, today's meeting follows the exciting major announcement yesterday by Mayor Fisher, who presented Marland a ceremonial check to Evolve502 for $3 million. Mayor and voted on Metro Council. So please tell your Metro Council members how much this means, and it's very important for our long term, which we're going to talk about. Now, this gift brought the total raise today to over $20 million and released a $5 million challenge from the CE&S Foundation. But it's important to know the first $2 million came from the Louisville Rotary Club. That endowment sits at the Kentucky Community and Technical College Foundation, and it's there forever, which is important. This community has a lot to be proud of, leading with extraordinary generosity with a focus to make college education available to every deserving young citizen in this community forever. It has been a Herculean effort by many Rotarians since September 2009, when we announced the goal to raise the first $1 million for Western High School, and then Superintendent Donna Hardens selected the Airport High School to receive the second $1 million endowment. So I will always remember riding the district governor, Woody Norfolk, to the Rotary District Conference in Nashville, where we learned from Paducah and the Hopkinsville clubs about their promised scholarships with their area's community colleges. Well, a major light then on with both of us, Woody and myself, that we should propose this for our 100th anniversary. And that night, I called JCTC president from Louisville and asked him if his interest in having this be, the JCTC would be the sole beneficiary of this 100th anniversary project. So I bet it's a call he won't forget. So I also want to mention, since Tony is here, and I told him earlier on my embarrassing, that he and his wife Nancy were among the very first major donors to this program, and with 100% match of that gift, and then again another 100% match from Kentucky Community Technical College Foundation, that became a 6-figure donation to this college. Thank you, John. So for all the many Rotarians, plus our members' donation to the Rotary Fund, plus local foundations and local citizens who supported this, I am forever grateful. Also, I want to thank my predecessor, President John Bush, for creating the 100th anniversary committee, and my successor presidents, especially Stet Stetton, Stu Alexander, who is our 100th president, Randy Cole, and Kevin Mordell, who especially actively supported the ongoing Global Rotary Promise Scholarship campaign and its very complicated operations. There's so many people behind, plus the current has mentors, Western and Airport, which Walt referred to. So forgive me if I can't speak about all of them, but all made it happen. Finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize the remarkable Mary Winter, who established the awareness of 55,000 degree deficit in Jefferson County and led that organization, as well as being the steam engine and the chief arm twister to get this magnificent endowed education to this point. Thank you, Mary Wynn. Now, please join me in welcoming our distinguished Louisville treasurer, Marland Cole.
Thank you so much, Henry. I forgot you do go back for my days at Jewish. Thank you for reminding me of that. You have been such a relentless champion for education. I appreciate your leadership in this space and for being one of our early donors, in addition to the Rotary gift, your own personal giving to our campaign. Thank you so much for that. Such an opportunity to be here with you all this afternoon. From the real beginning of my career, I have appreciated the power of Rotary in shaping the conversations around needs in our community. And you have demonstrated how to engage around these needs through active community service. Your work around education, as has been mentioned, has really laid the foundation and paved the way for Evolve502. We've learned so much from Henry, from Walt, Kevin Mordell, and others around your efforts to support and further mentor students. It's so critically important. So thank you for your pioneering work and for your partnership. Education, as we all know, invokes a great deal of emotion, personal reflection, many times debate, and passion. I say if you want to really liven up a dinner party, invite your guests to share their thoughts on the state of education and what should be done to improve it. And just watch the conversation flow. I believe this is because we all have had such a personal experience with education. As students ourselves, as parents, as business leaders, trying to hire good talent, as recipients of services like healthcare, financial or legal advice. And we have all needed at one time or another a qualified electrician or plumber in our homes. Education has mattered to us and impacted us across our entire lives. Growing up in a home that valued education, my parents supported me in every way possible to be successful and to be an independent adult. My mother was a teacher, and while I didn't always appreciate this, I had my own live-in tutor that could intervene if I was struggling with math, as I often did, or help proofread a paper. Going to college was an expectation, and I grew up believing that I could be anything I wanted to be if I stayed focused and put in the work. As parents, my husband and I have tried to instill those same values and expectations in our daughter. But her journey has had its own hiccups. By middle school, she was struggling to keep up. I consulted teachers and counselors, and after multiple tests and assessments, we learned that our daughter had reading comprehension challenges due to skills missed in elementary school. And she suffered from anxiety and taking tests. So we did what most parents would do. We pulled our network together of friends and folks that we knew in this space and identified programs and supports for her. She spent many years, many summers in tutoring and we worked through the system to get her special accommodations for test taking. I'm glad to report that she made great progress, got back on track, and is now a thriving junior at WKU and has made the dean list twice. Very proud parents. I don't tell you all that to brag. I was fortunate to have parents that could support me and had expectations from me. We have been able to support our daughter, navigate this system because we had resources and relationships that could guide us along the way. But what happens to our children who are not encouraged or supported? How do parents without resources learn how to advocate for their students when no one advocated for them? How do children learn when they're living in poverty, are homeless, are hungry when they arrive to school, if they make it to school at all due to a crisis at home? They are not starting, and we all know this in this room, they are not starting from an even playing field with their peers. They struggle, and therefore our community struggles. And that is why organizations like Evolve502, Rotary exist to help level this playing field for our children. And that is why I'm so incredibly passionate and feel so fortunate to be in this space and in this work. We have known for some time the clear interconnection between an educated workforce and a vibrant, growing economy. We know that post-secondary education can spur high employment, a larger tax base, residential growth, reduced crime, and that is why for more than a decade, Louisville has been focused on addressing this issue. It is anticipated that 62% of Kentucky's future jobs will require a degree or workforce training. Only 18% of jobs requiring a high school diploma will pay a family supporting wage. The Council on Post-Secondary Education published a report recently after tracking Kentucky high school graduates from the class of 2011, through college and into the workforce. By 2019, just 8 years after graduating high school, students who earned a college credential were making substantially more than high school graduates, despite the fact that they had fewer years in the workforce than high school graduates. The report also found that higher education not only contributes to students' upward economic mobility, but also narrows the wage gap between low-income and non-low-income students. As Henry mentioned earlier, 55,000 degrees, led by Mary Gwen Wheeler, made major strides in growing the number of working-age adults with a college degree in our community, and really began the process of convening community around these important issues. The Mayor's Cradle to Career Framework focused our attention around 4 pillars to promote lifelong learning that included kindergarten readiness, led by Metro United Way, K through 12 success with JCPS, post-secondary transition and completion, again championed by 55,000 degrees, and 21st century workforce and talent, led by Kentuckiana Works. So really, lessons learned from all of this work elevated the need to address the barriers that impact achievement along the pathway to post-secondary success, and the need to increase college affordability, with cost being the #1 reason students do not pursue a post-secondary degree. So Evolve502 was established to lead this next phase of this important work. It's a public-private partnership. It is our vision to ensure that every child is prepared for college, career, and a successful, productive life, with a strong emphasis on equitable, and I underline that, access to resources and supports. We use 3 strategies to drive this work: systems, scholarships, and supports. In all that we do, we strive for systems change using data, best practices, and the reallocation of community resources to identify and address the gaps that we all know exist in the pathway to academic success. We are raising the dollars to providing 2-year tuition-free post-secondary education and other supports for an entire generation of JCPS students to attend any Kentucky community and technical college like Jcps or Simmons College of Kentucky. It will take a commitment of $50 million to support everyone from the class of 2021 to the class of 2034, which is our goal. And as Henry mentioned, we were so glad he was able to join us yesterday. We were able to make an announcement with a terrific milestone, as he mentioned, that now has us raising over $21.6 million. And thank you, John Guthrie, my development officer, who's in the room, and obviously Barry Wheeler, who's been sharing our campaign up this time. This grant was made possible because of a challenge grant that we met from the CENS Foundation that really motivated business, other foundations, individuals, and local government to step up and support our efforts. And another very critical point about this milestone is that it allowed us to extend the promise now to our 8th graders, the class of 2026. And we're able to look your 8th graders in the eye yesterday and say, if you stay in school and are productive, we've got your back. And you can start thinking about college. We are so grateful to the CENS Foundation, Metro Government, the James Graham Brown Foundation, Humana, who's represented here today, the LDG Foundation, also represented here today, the Louisville Urban League, a host of individuals to include Mary Glenn Wheeler and David Jones Jr., the Christine M. Brown family, Henry Heiser, of course, and of course, Rotary. We thank you for these leadership gifts, and we know we will continue to advocate for critical support, this critical investment in our students. And with our focus on supports, we are convening and collaborating with JCPS and community partners to really better link youth and families to needed resources to ensure that all of our children have the tools that they need to be successful. The pandemic and the closure of schools, community centers, and other youth services really challenged us to find other ways to serve kids. In collaboration with JCPS, we quickly convened out-of-school time providers, churches, and other organizations that were really standing in the gap and were able and willing to serve students during non-traditional instruction. We identified their needs, and we were able to leverage community resources via JCPS, Metro Government, and other corporate donors to provide tutoring, meals, technology, PPE, and cleaning supplies that were desperately needed. And we served approximately 2,500 students during that time frame. And data has confirmed that those students that participated in what we call the Community Learning Hub performed and stayed engaged more so in NTI than their counterparts and performed better academically than their peers. So building on this work, we quickly pivoted our focus to summer, and we created a very robust
6 weeks learning experience for close to 7,000 students through 100 community and school-based sites. We engaged JCPS teachers, mental health specialists, nurses, and counselors to provide tutoring, deeper learning curriculum, and social emotional support. We hired College of Ed students to provide staffing support. We partnered with Kentuckiana Works to hire high school students, which was fabulous, and they were able to serve as leadership counselors and training, earn money, work on their own supports and education that they might have needed, and were able to conduct this Leader in Me curriculum for our students. We engaged arts and cultural organizations to provide enrichment experiences. We'll see what's going on. And provided food, school supplies, transportation, and COVID testing. All aspects of the community came together in support of our students. And we plan to continue to lean into and broker this type of community collaboration as we move forward. We were thrilled to welcome our first group of Evolve502 scholars from the Jcps Class of 2021 this fall. Our scholarship, as you know, is a last dollar scholarship, meaning that we are covering the gap between federal and state aid and are truly leveraging those public dollars with locally raised dollars. And for our lowest income students, those with incomes of $40,000 or less, we are providing what we call an opportunity grant, $1,000 per semester to help with those other costs of attending college. Because we know if any of you have sent kids to college, you know that those expenses are what. So to help with housing, transportation, technology, and those emergencies that just come up, keep our students from being successful. And for our class of 2021 opportunity grants recipients that receive an associate's degree at any of the KCTCS colleges or Simmons and remain Pell eligible and desire to continue their education at the University of Louisville, they will be awarded 2 additional years tuition-free at U of L, thanks to a 2+2 partnership we developed with the university. So this is this is a true affordable pathway for our lowest income 2021 JCPS grads to achieve a 4-year degree. We are hearing from our students that they can now see a path forward to achieve their dreams and pursue their career path that seemed out of reach before. Several will pursue a workforce credential to become certified in a trade. Some will earn an associate's degree and begin a career in a high demand field, maybe for many of you. And others will use this opportunity as a pathway to a 4-year degree. Here's a look at our first class by numbers. As you can see, we have close to 600 scholars enrolled, with the majority attending Jefferson. 19 are Rotary Evolve502 scholars from Iroquois High School. And 8, remember might be off here, are Rotary Evolve scholars from Western. And we were thrilled to have 2 Western grads receive, as we talked about the early college program that Walt talked about earlier, had already received their associate's degree, and they were able to take advantage right this fall with the 2+2 partnership at U of L, and they are at U of L right now. As we anticipated, 53% of our scholars are underrepresented minorities, and 50% are opportunity grant eligible, meaning that again, our lowest income students. Considering, as Walt shared about some of the challenges this past year, considering that this was our first year of this program, that schools were closed for most of our recruitment period, and much of our outreach had to be done virtually, and quite frankly, many kids were just as engaged and challenged. We are very proud of these numbers. And we are working weekly. I see Laura at the table here. I think we talk pretty much almost every other day, it feels like, but we are working every day to ensure that our higher ed partners are working together with us, and we are supporting these students and ensuring that they are able to retain and stay in school. As of Monday this week, we have already received over 600 applications from the class of 2022. This is way ahead of where we were last year. So we know our in-person efforts in conjunction with our higher ed partners are really making a difference. And I am sure Walt and Rotary volunteers are seeing that same level of re-engagement with our students. Like for most of us, This year has been a year of learning and adapting for Evolve 502. We continue to listen to the needs of our students and work collaboratively with our partners to address those needs. Some lessons learned and things that I feel that we need to be focusing in as we move forward. We must make learning opportunities affordable, accessible, and engaging for students. Dr. Marland Cole speaks often of the need to create extended learning opportunities outside of the school day to address the racial equity gaps and help address the racial equity gaps in achievement. To get students and families to participate in these opportunities, they must be affordable, if not free. They must be accessible, and they must be engaging for students. We were able to demonstrate this summer that we can create quality programming in community, closer to home where students live, and in collaboration with trusted partners, out-of-school time providers and folks like that they are comfortable with. We were able this summer, as I mentioned, to introduce curriculum that many times is typically provided to students in advanced programming, like the Think Law curriculum and Leader in Me. And it was the highlight, those programs were the highlight of the summer for these kids. They said it didn't feel like summer school. And students were given the opportunity to truly expand their thinking and express themselves in unique ways. Second, it sounds like a no-brainer, but we must put students at the center of the work and understand their unique challenges. I had the privilege of talking recently with the executive director of the Kalamazoo Promise, which is the first summer promise. They had great success, but have learned a great deal of lessons over the time, like the last 15 or so years they've been in existence. And I asked what was the greatest learning piece that he really took away. And he said, remove the idea of removing what he called normalized expectations for student outcomes. So our expectations tend to be based on traditional students, white, well-resourced, kids from stable home environments. And we have to think differently about expectations of kids that don't fit that. This made me really reflect and think about, wow, the many circumstances that I know and I'm learning of that our students are facing that have to be part of the equation and expectations and support that we provide to them. I thought about the mother that reached out to say her son was suffering with attention deficit. He was also anxious, taking medications, and they thought they had everything worked out, but he was struggling and is going to have to drop out. But we talked and we're hopeful that he will be able to re-engage with us this spring. I thought about the students that have to work. One young lady was sharing that she is working 40 hours a week and she's trying to go to school. That would be challenging for any of us. I think about the students with language barriers. Again, we have a family, one of our student success coordinators has been working with diligently and holding their hand through this process because the parents who want to be supportive don't speak English. They can't understand the process, which is difficult for all of us. FAFSA is a beast. You have to fill that out lately, and making changes to that, but it's difficult. And so we really had to hold that family's hand through this process and mark the wrong box and you're cut out of the system. And so things like that we have to address. And I don't know why this hit me so hard or so surprising, because we all know that prior to the pandemic, there were over 6,000 kids who were considered homeless in JCPS. So it made sense that we would get a scholar that would be homeless. And about 4 weeks ago, I think Lauren, on a meeting that we were talking about, yes, a student did identify that they were homeless. And Jefferson was able to really wrap their arms around the student and give them the resources that they need. These are significant social, emotional issues that we must help our students overcome. We must also see the process of recruitment, enrollment, and retention from their perspective and connect the dots for them. Third, we must continue to address affordability and access to post-secondary education. You all know this. Cost and perception of cost is still a true barrier. We recently surveyed our scholars, and they shared what the scholarship has meant to them. And I'm going to read verbatim some of the comments. It gives me an opportunity I never thought I would have on top of additional help with housing from the Opportunity Grant. It's great not to worry about school tuition. It's a big worry off my list. It's a great help. I'm able to buy my books and not worry about making ends meet at home. Student worried about making ends meet at home. The entire process has been very easy and it has helped my family a lot with money. And then lastly, I feel blessed to have Evolve502 in this scholarship. Many of our students may not have been able to attend school without the support of the scholarship, and that means so much to all of us. And lastly, we must continue to partner, collaborate, and engage this entire community around this work. Our school district leaders are the first to own their responsibilities for teaching our students and helping them to achieve. But our students are dealing with community issues that demand community solutions. And that makes their success our responsibility, the responsibility for all of us. We have been able to demonstrate that together we can do much more. And we will continue to lift up the importance of collaboration. In closing, I just want to share that I know we are offering so much more than a scholarship. I think Walt said this earlier. We are providing hope and promise to a population of students who have been left out or left behind in a system that just does not work for them. We are changing the conversation taking place in the homes of our youth to yes, college or some level of education past high school can be and should be for me. We must continue to lift up the importance of education, changing the mindsets of our entire community. We want our students to know they are worth more, they deserve more, and are capable of more, and that we are all here to help them achieve more. Thank you again for your time, for all the work that you are doing in all aspects of what Rotary is about, and really helping pave the way and continue to partner with us in this critical work. Thank you.
Wow. This is transformative. You guys realize that? I shouldn't talk when I have a mic, but transformative, you're changing lives. And it is emotional. And all you have to do is go and mentor one day and talk to some of these kids. And it's almost like you leave with tears, because not only are you providing them with an ear and food, whether it's just, lessons or life skills or something, but they're so appreciative of it. And it's just amazing. You talked about equitable access. Describe that, unpack that for us.
It's always a word that gets a lot of challenge and misunderstanding about that. We are talking about giving students what they need based on their particular circumstances to be successful. We want all kids to be successful and have the resources that they have that are necessary to move them forward. But it's critically important to understand some of the barriers that some families have and others do not. So it's not about taking away from someone else. It's about giving the person what they need to be successful. So we want that across the board. When I talk about the resources that we've been able to provide for our daughter, and which you all have been able to provide for your families, everybody needs and wants that. And so we're trying to find ways to get those resources, get those tools to people that really need them so that they have what they need. We can't fix everything. We can't fix poverty by ourselves. We can't fix the fact that many of our families are homeless, but together we can work together and figure out ways to how do we help them in spite of those situations be successful.
And Walt, you have just watched all this program and been so dedicated to it. And last year was difficult. And trying to connect, stay in touch with kids so that, what we gained so far is lost and provide this to support as well was difficult, but you kept going with your program and the students. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I kept going. particularly with our students because of Lisa here. So Lisa waved to everybody. But I mean, it takes dedicated, Rick, I mean, we've got Carmen, we've got 3 of the folks that we work with every single time we go to these schools. And if you go look at these schools and you talk with the students, you talk with the staff, there's a whole bunch of caring adults in the room. Now, what we can do is we can be another caring adult, because the kids that we work with, many of them don't have the social network or the social capital, if that's what the term is, in order to kind of navigate. But we talk to them, and I will tell you that, I mean, many of you all have been doing this for a long time. But anytime you go, you come out hopeful, because these are the future of our community, and you come out more enthused or more satisfied that the kids, the schools give you more than you give them. And it really isn't quite like that. It is a hand across. We are providing really good information and good just contact to our students, but it is a two-way street. It's not a hand up, it's a hand across. And that's what our community ought to be like in lots of areas. But I'm proud of Rotary for what they do, and I'm proud to be associated with Iroquois and Western high schools. I wasn't part of the choosing, but we are where we need to be, and we appreciate it. And anyway, we've got what we want.
Marley, this took a lot of work and many years to put this thing all together, but it looks like it could serve as a model for other communities. Are you sharing this project with other communities?
Well, definitely, we definitely are leaning in and learning from those that came before us in the work in the space. And there are a number of promise organizations across the country, but we have had the benefit of learning and watching their examples. I think the opportunity grant was a big piece of adding in, knowing that tuition alone was not enough. So we continue to evolve and learn, definitely from the scholarship standpoint, as well on our comprehensive services piece of the work. We are connected with a group out of Harvard called Harvard by All Means, that brings together organizations that look similar to us. There's about 12 or so that some are called children's cabinets that are engaged in the work of supporting their school districts. And so we visit with them frequently and learn and share what we're doing. And we have had the opportunity with the NEA to talk about our summer work and sharing those stories. But we all continue. I mean, everyone's dealing with the same issues, which is it should make you feel better, but it does make you feel like, well, we're not alone. But we can all learn from each other and then adapt models into our own context and our own communities.
And we're curious, please make your way to the mic to ask questions. Well, we talked about this before of that Western and Iroquois. Are there any plans to add any more schools to this program?
Well, when the original Louisville Rotary promised scholarship, we were going to go to 4 schools. But we have concentrated on these 2 schools. We have not talked about getting it larger, mainly because, I mean, we do have a limit of how far our reach can go with the number of mentors that we have. I will tell you that we have pitched our program to other Rotary clubs and other civic organizations, and we by all means are ready, willing, and able to give them all the help that they need in order to do this. But I think we are very happy with where we are with, and we're giving it quality work. And we have, I say that, we added our early college, so that was another one. And now we're going to be adding early college. For y'all that don't know this early college is a game changer, and Iroquois High School doesn't have it. And they will start in the spring. It is because of the people in this room.
Hello, Craig Mooney, and Vice Chair of the Rotary Honor Scholar Program. I've got a senior at Eastern High School, my son. My daughter is a freshman at Manual High School. I only have to tell my daughter 3 or 4 times before she remembers something. She's a little bit more mature to remember. My son, sometimes it's somewhere in the range of 10 to 15 times. You know, Walt, myself, Tommy, Linda, all the community volunteers and Rotarians, we are trying to spread the word every time we go to Western and Iroquois about this scholarship program. And each time there are students that act like they haven't heard about it. Which I understand, having 2 high school students. So how can we as Rotarians and community leaders assist Evolve 502 in getting the word out and helping our young people realize that this great opportunity is available to them?
Thank you for that question. Mary Gwen and I were talking about this just yesterday. Obviously, we work very closely with our schools to get the word out. But as we talked about, last year was a challenging year. Kids weren't in school. And so counselors weren't able to meet with them. We weren't able to meet with them. And so we think we'll see a difference this year and moving forward. We're very hopeful for that. But you're right. We have to use all vehicles of getting the word out in the community. We have to talk to our churches. We have to talk to other community groups that are working with young people. We have to have young people talking about the opportunity. And I think now having a class of students, and we had 2 join us for the press conference yesterday that we're going to take on the road with us and really get the word out as well. So we would have any thoughts that you all have about how to communicate and reach out, but it is critically important. And talking to the parents, helping the parents understand what this could mean for them. And so getting in front, we met a parent yesterday who is willing to really champion some efforts around that. But it is critically important to just over and over again. And what we say to students, even if you think you know what you're going to do, if you think you know you're going to go to Notre Dame or somewhere else, UK, wherever, great. But we tell them, fill out the application anyway. It's a backup plan, just in case something happens. You have another opportunity. It takes you less than 5 minutes to fill it out. So it's the easiest application I've ever seen. And so we are encouraging everyone to do that. But that's a very good question. Thank you.
All right, Barbara Sexton Smith and Marland, congratulations. I remember 30 years ago, you walked into United Way and said, I'm here to help make the community better. And look at you today. You've done that. Give her another hand. All right, Marland, I can give you a softball or a hardball. I'm going to give you one right down the middle, okay? So I'm going to keep it based on the facts and the data. I really like the slide you showed where there's more than 600 students now, and it looks as though 500 plus are at Jefferson and 5 are at Simmons College of Kentucky. Did I see that correctly? All right. Would you take a couple minutes and then talk a little bit, if you will, about the significant importance of having an HBCU, historically Black college and university, right here in Louisville, Simmons College of Kentucky. And what is it can Evolve 502 do intentionally to up the number of students going to our very own HBCU right here in our community? Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara. And thank you for all the work that you've done and championed. And I think we were connected even when I spent some time at Simmons. You were on the board then too, and being a big cheerleader for this work. And it is critically important. I think we're learning and hearing more about HBCUs and the significance of them in community. They have an ability like no other organization. Oh, I'm sorry, historically Black colleges, universities. You say that right, Christy? Keeps me point. I apologize for that. They can reach students like no other, students of color in particular, in a way that no other institutions are able to do. It's a special bond. I did not have that experience myself, but I hear from friends that had that and what it has meant for them over the years. And so it's that intentional, hands-on. It's what my mother did as a teacher. She didn't care if it was her kid or not. She said, you're not doing what you should be doing, and would call that out. That's that tough love that I think is given to our students. And so it's critically important for our communities to be able to thrive, to have a successful institution like Simmons in it. And so we are hoping that our scholarship opportunity will help connect young people that have typically not thought about Simmons, connect with this scholarship. And so we have a lot of work to do there. I think as Simmons continues to expand its degree offerings, that's going to help a long way in that process. But we are on board. Dr. Cosby is on our board. We're working to do what we can to kind of lift up the wonderful opportunities that Simmons can provide for our young people.
Last question, Larry Sloan Sales Company. I'm curious about the statistics at the high schools that have been mentioned in previous programs on this, such as the graduation rates and the college ready rates. I know that they were improving 2 or 3 years ago, last time I remember hearing about this. Any new statistics? I know the pandemic has probably impacted it some, but that would be an interesting way to see if there was quite an improvement from like 6% college ready to some mid-teens. teens, as I recall, for Western a few years ago. But I don't know if you know any new statistics or not. Okay, that's homework.
Yes, we're working on it. All right, are you ready? One more hand for Marland.
Anybody wants to find out what our students are and what the challenges they face and how hopeful they are, just contact me, Craig, Tommy, or Linda when we're finished, and we'll get you hooked up. Just try it one time, you'll come back. Thanks.
Well, Ashley, we're running out of time. We're gonna do really quick announcements because we're always respectful of your time. So there you go, Ashley.
See how fast I can go. All right, so we have quite a few announcements. Number one, the Awards and Recognition Committee is seeking nominations for the Rotary Lifetime Service Award. It's presented annually. You have to be a member for 10 years and have demonstrated lifelong adherence to Rotary service above self ideals. It is one person who has exhibited a personal dedication to the pursuit of Rotary's values in one or more of the Rotary's 4 avenues of service, which are club service, community service, vocational service, or international service. Last year, it was given to Charlie Oberst. So you have until November 26th to make your nomination, and we encourage you to do so, please. The Rotary Holiday Celebration is Thursday, December 2nd. Please mark your calendars at Big Springs Country Club. The cash bar opens at 6. Dinner is at 7. 2 salads, 3 meats, 3 vegetables, potatoes, hot rolls, coffee, tea, and a holiday dessert, all for $60. There is live music and giveaways and lots of surprises, so it's a very much a deal. The link is in Sparks. Please sign up. Next Thursday, we are featuring very special guest speaker, John Germ, the chair of the Board of Advisors for the Rotary International Foundation. Lunch is Primavera tortellini with balsamic chicken and garlic bread. You will not want to miss it. We've got some great speakers coming up. Check Sparks for that, and the QR code for next week is on your table, so sign up for next week's lunch. Happy birthday to Tom Crimmins and Molly Smith on Wednesday, November 3rd. And I skipped a bunch of things, so.
Remember all those signs that you told me, speed it up, grab it, grab it, grab it. Yeah, I got to do that to you. All right, everybody, thank you so much for coming. Visitors, please come back and consider joining Rotary. Everybody do good work and have fun doing it. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.